Oh, you're recording now? Yeah. Yes, even better. Hey, Shannon.
Hey, Miranda.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Happy Friday.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Yes.
Woo!
So I'm here with Shannon Gutierrez, who is the owner and curator of the Wyckwood House in downtown Aurora. And your grand opening is what day?
Yes, it's Friday, July 13th.
Oh, 2 weeks.
Yes, it's coming up quick.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So how did this begin? It started in your house, right?
It did, yes. And before that, it just started as a dream of
Ooh.
something. You know that question when people would ask you, like, oh, what would you do if you do anything
Right.
just for fun, you know? And I would always say, I think it would be so fun to have a shop, like a cute little place somewhere. And so that was always my answer. And I thought that would just always be a dream. And then I had an opportunity to do a business planning workshop.
Ooh.
And I just went for it. It happened to be on my day off, and it was just a 6-week thing. So I kind of just dove into that and put together a plan of like what that would look like
Oh
to
my
do
gosh.
something. And actually, before I did that, I found this really cute shop downtown DeLand, Florida,
Oh, really?
where my grandma was living. I was there visiting her, and I walked in and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like my dream.
That was it?
Yeah, so it was a couple different like local artist type people there, and then they had this giant like wine and beer bar.
Yeah. Wait,
So
where's
I
that?
was like,
Do you have that here?
Working on that part. So ever since that, I kind of just felt like maybe this could happen, you know? So when I did the business planning workshop, of course, it's a little overwhelming to think about a business when you go from like,
Yeah.
this is a fun dream, and then you think about a business.
Right.
It's very different. So thankfully, it was through the SCORE mentoring workshop, and so
Oh, I just heard about that the other day.
they're amazing.
And where is that again?
So they do different workshops all throughout
Okay.
like the Fox Valley area.
Yeah.
And so this one happened to be right in Aurora at
Oh
the
my
Frisco
gosh.
Center, which was super convenient. And they pair you up with business people. A lot of them are retired, and so they just are there to help you be successful and share their wisdom.
Wow.
It's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So my first kind of going through that, I thought, I'm not going to start a brick and mortar like just from nowhere.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how about I just try something out in my house and see what happens?
And what did your husband think about
Oh my
this?
goodness. You know, he is so supportive, and he also thinks I'm crazy.
You have to be a little crazy to
Yeah.
pursue these types of dreams, though.
Right?
Because you have to be willing to take the leap and not know what's going to happen.
Totally. And so I'm really thankful that, you know, along the way, he's just been like, you go for it, like totally supportive, even when he was super nervous about it, you know. But thankfully, like my husband and I both love hosting
That's nice.
events,
Yeah.
and we love having people in our home. So that part didn't freak him out too much. It kind of felt like normal for us. I
And
guess.
he cooked tacos for the event, right? Because my
He
mom
did.
came home from that and she's like, Flo's tacos were amazing.
Yeah.
And she was impressed by the whole thing, but she kept
Yeah.
talking about those tacos even until the next time.
Oh my gosh, he is such a good cook. It's ridiculous. And so it kind of felt like this beautiful like compilation between like his dream and what he's really gifted at and something that I wanted to
Wow.
pursue. And so we kind of both got to do that
Yeah.
together. You know,
That's
it was
pretty
just-
amazing.
It was awesome.
And you work well together?
Mostly.
I mean, you're still married, so
Yeah, we're still married, so here we are. Yes, he puts up with me.
And I'm sure you put up with him too a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It's mutual.
It is. That's
It has
life,
to be.
right?
Yes, it has to be. So when you were setting this up, did you have friends in mind, or are you crafty yourself? Do you have?
That's a good question. So I did have friends in mind. A lot of my friends happened to be just really talented people, and they were already doing things, like had their own Etsy shops and exploring their own dreams. And so it really felt super natural to be able to reach out to them. And although I should say I was super scared at the same time. I thought I was nuts. Like when I was typing out my text messages to invite them, hey, you want to come do this market at my house? I was like, they're going to think I'm insane.
It's a really vulnerable position to put yourself in. That's why I felt, especially with the podcast, like asking people, and then I'm like, oh, well, shit, now I have to do it. Like I have to figure out what I'm doing.
For real.
And so you had to do the same thing.
I know. And thankfully, when I sent those text invites to them, they all said yes and just jumped in and took the risk with me. And so it ended up being just super fun and just loved it. And so we did the first market and people were like, so when are you doing this again? And I thought, okay, well maybe we will do it again, you know. So I hosted a few, we started May of 2017. And then we did one like every other month for the rest of the year.
Wow.
Yes.
Every other month? That's a lot. That's a big commitment.
And so I think the first one that we did, I maybe had 8 people that participated. And then by September, we had 18.
Wow.
Yeah, all in our house.
And did your audience grow during that time? Did the number of people that were attending the market and hearing about it grow?
Yes. It did. And so we kind of were feeling like, you know, are we outgrowing our home? Like, what do we do? And we had an opportunity, because as I was planning the next market, it was going to land the first weekend in December. And so downtown Aurora, they do this fantastic event, First Fridays, and it's like a big community thing. And so I reached out to Marissa, who organizes the events, and I just said, hey, do you think it would be possible for Wyckwood House to do like a pop-up for First Friday in December? And she was so supportive and helped me find a location to do that. Instead of doing it at my house, we thought, why don't we just do it in the community where everyone's already going to be anyway? And so I was able to do the pop-up for the December First Friday in Metropolitan Co-working, and it was awesome. Like, I love the space so much. It was so great.
Yeah. So that's where we are right now.
And that's where we are today.
Oh my gosh. But you didn't know in December that this was going to happen.
No clue at all. And the funny thing is, as we, you know, we were here for Friday night and we were also in the space Saturday, we were open. And as we were packing up on Saturday, we all just felt like, oh my gosh, we do not want to be leaving this space. We just love it so much. It's so beautiful in here. And, but you know, on we went. And they're running a business here. But thankfully, the landlord came to visit the market when we were here in the space, and he really liked what he saw, apparently. So he reached out and wanted to see about having us do something together. And when this space did become available, he just reached out to see if we'd like to jump in.
I think it's so amazing to see, especially on this block here, all of the new life that's being breathed back into these old buildings. And to see, because you still have the brick wall and you like upstairs and downstairs, and then you overlook the river. And your neighbors are pretty cool on both sides.
They're fantastic. It's like family over here, honestly.
It really seems like it.
Yes.
And you're cultivating, like just you and your space are cultivating this little sense of community right here. Was that important to you? Because, so I've been reading a lot about how entrepreneurs, like what sets them apart, the ones that make it or the ones that stand out, is their culture. And whatever that is, whatever industry they're in, whatever they decide that culture is. And it's obvious when you walk in here, like you just get this feeling of belonging, and it's comfortable and it's passionate. Like this is all made by people that are in the community. So did you have a set culture in mind? Like, did you set out to pursue that, or is this just how it grew?
Yeah, good question. I think part of it is just my personality and the way that I just want to do life in general. So I think that just bled into the business side of it. And I don't want to say it happened on purpose. I kind of feel like it just happened that way.
Yeah.
But I am definitely a golden retriever. So if you do like the personality test, like I am the person that wants to play on a team.
Right.
I care about how people feel, what they're doing. I want to empower them. And so like that's what I've gotten to do in life, and I just felt like it just naturally happened with this business model as well.
How has that been for you now that you are managing some people, right? Well, I guess, so you're the curator.
Right.
But you're still running this space. So is that, because I find I'm a people pleaser too, and then it is really hard for me sometimes to be like, to kind of push back.
Yes.
But then once you start doing it, I think it just takes practice.
Right. And that is definitely probably the biggest learning that I need to work on. And because I want to keep it a very relational place. And, but at the same time, when you put in the business aspect of it, you have to make business decisions too.
Exactly.
And so,
and that can be hard to do when it's your personal business and your friendships and relationships.
Right.
Those lines get blurred.
It does. And so I'm thankful that I have some people in my life that are a little further connected to this, that can speak some truth into me or give me some counsel, on how to make better business decisions and not just fall into the relational, like, oh, sure, whatever you want. Like my good friend Barb, I mean, she owns her own small business bookkeeping company, and so she is very business minded. Yeah. Where I'm not.
I feel like those numbers people, they
right?
really,
they
you
know
need some of those people in your life.
Absolutely. So like I meet with her and I'm like, just have to assume I know nothing when it comes to this. So let's start at ground zero. And thankfully she can kind of walk me through some of that and give me advice how to just stay business, and then, but you can treat people great in the
and you can still make sound business decisions and be nice about it.
Absolutely.
Even when they're hard. And I think it's so important to have that personal touch. And that's what the fun thing about being an entrepreneur is. Like, it's yours entirely. So however you want to run your business is up to you to decide. So did you, Barb, that's she's been a longtime friend? Or is this someone you found since you went off on your venture?
No, we've been really good friends for years now. Like our families have vacationed together. My husband's great friends with her husband, and so it's one of those like cherished relationships, because as a married couple, it's like so rare to find that other couple that you all love to be together. So and then when I had this dream, she was just like, absolutely, like, I'll do your books, I'll help you whatever you need. Like, such a gift, So who knew those years ago when we became good friends that this is where we would be today.
And I really think when you start out, like in anything, using your network first. And I tell my clients a lot to do that a lot of times too, because if you just look around in your network or your friends or your family, I'm fortunate to have a huge family, so I lean on them for a lot. And then I have close friends too that I can like call at any time.
It's so priceless, isn't it? Yeah. Absolutely. And honestly, like I could not do any of this without my mom.
Right.
Like my mom has been my biggest cheerleader, aside of my husband, this entire time.
Does she also like keep it real with you? Because my mom is my number one fan and my number one critic at the same time.
Definitely. She's like, really?
Yeah, like, are you sure?
Like, what? I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
And you need that too, someone who's going to be honest with you.
Yes, real feedback.
Right.
It's so good. But we have so much fun together. And like we were just here till 11 o'clock last night getting things situated, and like we're cracking up because we were so tired, but having a good time. And I'm just beyond thankful for that, because she's not afraid to put in the hard work and do what it takes, all the behind the scenes type stuff. And I just love it.
It's so important to have, and you trust her, so you trust her judgment, you trust what advice she's going to give you.
Totally.
And I really think even if you only had your mom, you could do this.
Yeah.
Because you have that one person you trust and you love, and then you work it out together.
Absolutely.
And that's so key.
It is.
Do you find Do you guys argue? Because I know my mom and I, if we had to put a space together.
I mean, I have to say it's very rare that we do. Yeah, it's just very rare, but it does happen every now and then where it's like, no. You know, or I'll get an attitude and she's like, excuse me.
All right, it doesn't matter how old you are. You cannot get an attitude with your mother.
That's right. Yeah, she keeps me in line.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
well, most mothers should, I guess, as you would.
That's right.
Does she live in Aurora? I don't really know anything about your family.
Oh, so great question. She does live in Aurora and she lives with us.
Oh, she lives with you. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And you guys are still spending all this time together.
I know.
Wow.
It's insane. It's insane.
And you haven't killed each other yet.
No.
That is
We have
impressive.
so much fun together. It's so funny when people are like, so how's it going with your mom at your house? I'm like,
And then at work.
it's awesome. Like, I feel so spoiled having her around,
Oh, that's
you know.
so nice.
She's so great with Mateo. She'll
Yeah.
take him and do stuff. She'll be like, what do you guys have going on this weekend? Do you want to have like a date night? We're like, yes.
Yeah, please.
You want to hang out with him? Okay.
Right.
I mean, yes, we are so blessed to have her.
Oh, that's amazing.
So good.
Have you guys always been close, or is this something that happened?
We have always been close. I'm the second oldest of 6 kids.
Oh, I didn't know
And-
there were 6 kids in your family.
Yes.
Wow.
So, you know, we have lived a lot of life together, and for some reason, just I always looked up to my mom and respected her,
Yeah.
and we have similar personalities, I think, and so yeah, we've just always been close. We've definitely had some hard times, as most people do
Most
in
families
life,
do.
right? And honestly, like, we had to work through some of that,
Right.
and there was a season where it was really hard, you know, but I think because we did have such a good relationship, we were able to work through the hard stuff
Yeah.
and come through it, and now we're on the other side of it and probably are stronger in our relationship because of it.
I think that's so important because I don't know if you feel this way, but I do with my business. Like, when you start your business and you're being so vulnerable and you're having to put yourself out there, like, kind of your other shit comes to the surface too. And it's all looking at you.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, okay, so we're gonna have to address all of these, no matter whatever your issues are or problems you're having. It all just happens to come up at the most stressful time,
Of course.
ever.
You're so run down and
Yeah.
tired and stressed, so then all the negative stuff comes up, and you're like,
Yes.
what?
I feel like I've been for the past year just tired, and I've always been a good sleeper. Always go to bed early, and now I'm just, I don't know. Like, I was up late last night too, and then up early and working late and answering messages and emails and.
Yeah, it is. It's honestly, like, as tiring as this has been, I feel the most alive.
Do you?
In this season, because truly I feel like I'm doing what I was made to do. And it's, you know, I joke about all the cliches, like, oh, go after your dream, like all those things that people say, and you're like, whatever. You won't work a day in your life, and you're like, okay.
Right.
But, like, it really feels amazing.
Yes.
Right?
And is it because I completely agree. I mean, that doesn't mean you're not tired. It doesn't
Right.
mean you're not actually, like, putting in long days.
And you can get a little bitchy sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
A little is, like, generous.
Yes. Flo
And-
can vouch for that.
Yes, exactly. So can my mom and some of my friends. And there are some days, like, this is why you have to have good girlfriends. Before I went to Mexico and I was trying to get everything done and trying to make sure the business was taken care of, and I knew that our trip to Mexico was going to be a 10-day family adventure. So not like laying on the beach in Cancun. And we saw family, and it was great. And we, like, the 6 of us, so I'm the oldest of 4, and it was my dad, my stepmom, my 2 half sisters, and then my brother and I. We've never all traveled together.
Oh, wow.
So we've all been to Mexico separately, like with like my dad and my brother have gone. I've gone with my stepmom. I've been with my dad. You know, so this is the first time we all took a family trip, which is very interesting.
Yes.
And I knew that we were going to be close, so I was trying to get everything done. And some of my friends were checking in with me, like, "How you doing? You know, you're working a lot. You're getting ready to leave on this trip." And I was like, I'm good. And then there was one Monday, I don't know what I was doing. I was in the parking lot somewhere, and that was it. Like, I just cracked. And I texted my friend Katie. I was like, "It's happening. Like, the breakdown is happening right now." And she was like, "Okay, I'll call you in 5 minutes."
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And so she, put me back on track.
Yes.
And then
so
I got
good.
to Mexico, and we had an amazing time, and
So
still
good.
got no sleep. But
Right.
there was some tequila. And my sisters and I shared a room every night, and most of the time we're sharing a bed.
Oh wow. That's fun.
At least 2 of us, if not 3 of us, to a bed
Holy cow.
for 9 nights, I think.
Gosh.
Yeah. And so at age 30, because we never lived in the same house, like I would stay at my dad's, but I didn't live with them. And so at age 30, that was a cool experience to have sleepovers with them and different bonding because you're in a new place. And then sometimes there were we were in Mexico, in the mountains of Mexico. And so sometimes there were bugs. Like one night it rained and all of these ants came in the house and they were just falling out of the walls. And even my aunt was like, "Oh my God." There were just hundreds of them. And this was right before we went to bed. And I don't know about you, but when I see any sort of bug right before I'm going to go to sleep, like, I'm just itchy.
Yes. It's definitely crawling on you.
Exactly.
It's probably in my ear right now. Like, totally.
So we're in a new location. There's 2 of us in the bed, 3 of us in the room.
Oh my gosh.
And right before we go to bed, like in the kitchen, these ants, they're just falling out. I wish I would have taken a photo. And then we realized they flew. And then we started spraying in the wall. We have 1 can of bug spray. And they just came out in droves. And queen ants, I don't know if that's a term. Queen ants. Is that a thing? the big ones.
The big ones came out.
And so my stepmom had the broom. I had the spray. My sister had this other squeegee thing and was raking them off the walls. And my dad and my uncles were just like, "It's raining outside." They usually come in when it rains. Like, no,
this is not normal.
Not this many. This is so crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you have to. So when we went to bed that night, we all took some melatonin, and we're like, "Okay, did you check the room?" Yes. And we talked each other to sleep, and it was so nice. It was the bugs were nice, but the bonding experience.
Special.
Yeah, it was really special. And I think it made all the stress leading up to the trip worth it.
Yeah, that's cool. Isn't it funny how in life sometimes the chaos brings the best results, right?
Always.
It's so interesting.
Were the hard parts because that's where you really figure out who you are, who your business is, what your business is.
Yeah.
Have you had any, so you've been doing this a year now. Have there been any really big challenges? Are the ants falling out of the walls anywhere?
Oh my gosh. Well, that is a great analogy.
Really?
Yeah. It's probably, I think most of the business part of it has just been awesome and things just keep falling into place and it's almost been too easy, But then the reality of it is are people going to come?
Yeah.
Are we going to be sustainable? We are in this for the long haul, So that's the part where sometimes I can't breathe.
And you can't control that. You control some of it. You can control up to making sure your shop is in order and the artisans you put here and the marketing and testing, but people have to come.
Right. So I think that's probably the scariest part, but I don't think up until this point we've had a crisis.
Right.
you know, of anything. So
Yeah,
we'll
we're
see
gonna
when
knock on
that
some wood
comes.
there, right?
You know, but I think, you know, thankfully I'm doing this a little later in life. And so I'm thankful that I've had experiences and I'm going into it knowing like it's not all rainbows and unicorns,
Right.
you know, as much as I want it to be. There are going to be hard times, but knowing that ahead of time and saying, okay, like when they come, we're going to push through it. And maybe we have to change something that we're doing,
Right.
and being okay with that. Like I feel like I hold my business model pretty loosely. Like this is what we want, this is how we want to go about it. But if we need to make adjustments to that, like absolutely, I'm open to that, and
Yeah.
I'm willing to change something if we need to be successful, because I don't know what's
Right.
best. I don't know what I'm doing, you
And
know.
what is best this month or today or this week will may not, and most likely won't be the best thing 2 months from now,
Right.
or next year. I mean, that's how you grow. And I think hanging on to it loosely, that's been like my theme because June was so crazy.
Right.
Like, okay, the only thing I can do right now is just kind of step back with everything and just see how it works out, because
Right.
it's going to evolve on its own. And if you try to control every single little detail, then you kind of hinder like the organic process of it.
Absolutely. And I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
I know you have to work hard at things, but
Right.
I also feel like if you're truly in your element and doing what you're made to do, things are going to happen,
Yes.
you know, and we shouldn't have to force everything
Right, because
or
if you're
control everything.
or control, oh, that's hard. Though.
It
Hard
is
not to
hard.
control everything.
It is.
How do you work on that? Well, you're a people pleaser, right?
Yes.
Golden retriever. What other characteristics are the golden retriever?
Yes. So yes, the people pleaser, the team player, keep the peace. That's a big thing, and I think that, you know, started in my family, of course,
Yeah,
right? Like I
right.
just wanted to keep the peace. I felt like that was my responsibility to make sure everyone was good, and you're a servant, like you want to be there to help.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think those are all good, but of course, with anything, there's the negative side of that. So, if you go any extreme, it's not healthy. So, I need to keep that in check.
So do you find you end up sacrificing yourself, your time, your sanity?
At times,
Yeah.
yeah. But I also think because of now having some experiences, I'm able to be in check with myself a
Yeah.
little better and not get too burnt out.
And know your limits, which is an important thing in this
Yeah.
business too.
Totally.
So I'm so curious. Are you creative? Like, do you what? Or you just
Yes.
Well, not creative. Like,
Uh-huh.
obviously you're creative because you put this space together, and this is how, like, your art. This is your space, and it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
And you have an eye for that. But do you? Because you've got you've got pottery, you've
Yeah.
got candles, clothing,
Yes.
artwork.
Yes.
So do you do anything? Do you sew? Do you
I don't sew.
knit?
No, I'm not a knitter. I took like one home economics
Yeah.
class and made like a pillow, maybe.
I tried to knit for like 5 minutes. Didn't it?
No, but I do think my biggest thing is just the curating.
Yeah.
Right? Like putting it together.
Which is creating in and of itself. Like, you're pulling all of these people together in this space.
Yeah, creating an environment that's
Right.
appealing and inviting. But then there are pieces that, like, my mom and I call it treasure hunting. Like, I just love to find
That's fun.
treasures and bring them back to life.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we do together. Like, I'll come up with an idea and be like, ooh, this would be so cool if we did this. And then my mom makes it happen.
That's amazing.
You know, like we have all these old windows and we've found different signs or angel wings or something fun to put on them, and it makes this beautiful statement piece, you know?
Right.
And so that's one way that we work really well together. Like,
That's cool.
and it's fun to see her too getting creative, and she'll come up with ideas now and be like, oh, what if we did this? And a lot of times we're like, oh my gosh, I was thinking the same thing, you know? So we kind of feed off of each other with that, but I don't. And like my friend is crazy talented with like calligraphy and hand lettering.
Yeah.
And she
Is
did
that
a
Jenny?
workshop. No, well,
Oh.
she's also
She also-
amazing at that.
right.
And she did this super cute thing on our mirror in the bathroom, and it just says "Hello, gorgeous," and I love it so much.
Jenny did that, or your?
She did,
Oh, okay.
Jenny, yes. But my other friend who she did a workshop to teach us how to do hand lettering, and Jenny did go to that workshop as well.
Cool.
And I was like a nervous wreck. I'm like,
In the
oh
workshop?
my gosh, yes.
With your friends?
Because I'm like a perfectionist, hello,
Oh.
and I want to do it right and be really good at it, and I'm not. So instead of just like enjoying it and just going with it, I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Oh, yours is way better. Like this
Oh
looks
no,
terrible.
comparing everything?
Yeah. So, and I just embrace the fact that that's not my thing.
Yeah.
And so then I just asked Jenny to write stuff, or Janelle, and they are amazing.
Right. I mean, if you have those friends with those talents, I tried to. I mean, I can sew. I used to really like to sew. I feel like I don't do enough creating regular. My business is a creation.
Yes.
Like this podcast is fun too. But sometimes I feel bad. I'm like, oh, I should paint. Like I should.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I can't paint. I can't do any. I like it. It seems relaxing.
Well, if you ever need a creative outlet, you know where to come.
I will be here.
Yes.
So how important is, have you had any social gatherings with the artisans yet?
Yes, so we had our first artisan social, is what we call it.
Cool.
So anyone that's participating and displaying their treasures or creations here, we do a gathering probably like every other month.
Yeah.
And
That's nice.
it's just a time for us to come together and talk about like what's working, what's not working, what are you dreaming about doing, what events do you want to do, how can we help each other. And
Wow.
it's so awesome. And I think that's one of my favorite things about this
Yeah.
is the people, right? These amazing people that are going after their dreams, and we get to lock arms and do it together, you know?
Right. And I really think that creative, like being around other creative people, no matter what it is, and people who are just trying to pursue something outside of themselves, something bigger, fosters creativity.
Totally.
Because then it motivates you and you're learning something new, like calligraphy, or just like being in that environment. Because as soon as you work in an environment like that, or you have friends, or even like a coworker, she was my work wife. But the two of us worked so well together, and we'd never worked with anybody where you could bounce ideas off each other like that. And then it's important to work with someone who's going to execute them too,
Yes.
even if it's one or the other. But I think that is just so important in the creative process. Like you need to be able to work by yourself and be motivated by yourself, but
Right.
then having those other people to kind of help you along the way, it's
amazing.
like it's magical.
It is magical.
It really is.
It is. Yeah. I feel very thankful.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they are too. Are they excited, the artisans?
They are. And I think one thing that is super fun to see is, you know, like I shared about what I love to do is place items and like make a space really fun and
Yeah.
inviting. And so many of the artisans, I mean, they're beyond talented, and when they bring their things here, I feel like it's Christmas, and I'm like blown away. I'm like, you guys,
Yes.
seriously, you did that? Like, it's so cool.
The stuff in this place is amazing.
Yes, but like a lot of them don't want to be the ones to place the items. They're
Right.
like, I want you to do that. Like, that stresses me out. So I love how we all get to use our gifts and do what we love, and then, you know, collaborate and make something great.
Right, and there's not one person who's going to be good at everything. And I feel like a lot of artists, especially, don't want to promote themselves. They don't want to promote their music or their artwork, or, you know, because they're not necessarily doing it to make money.
Right.
And most of the times they aren't doing it to make money, but they want to. And so that's where it's kind of like it's not showboating. You're just like making people aware of what you're doing and giving them the opportunity to say, you know, whether they want to pay for it or not.
Right.
And how much they're going to pay for it.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because there's so many times that these amazingly talented people will bring their items in here, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
You need to raise your price.
Exactly.
Like, what? You are amazing. Like, you made that.
Right. And people are
You're like,
so afraid
Yeah.
all the time. And it doesn't matter if you're selling a service or a piece of art. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to ask. Even I struggle with pricing.
Yeah.
And I've had people tell me, like clients who have been like, I would have paid double for this.
That's
And so,
awesome.
yeah, it's amazing that I have these relationships with people that are going to be that honest, number one. And that because that feedback is important.
It is.
And I'm still new to this. And you do feel weird.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't know. And you have to test the market. So when you suggest that they raise their pricing, do they do it?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're still bashful about it.
Yeah. They don't ever believe it.
They
No.
don't. And the only way is to test it, right? So if I raise my prices and people look at that and they're like, I don't think that's worth it. Okay, well then now you know, like maybe
Right.
go down a little bit. But if then people are going to buy it or they're going to negotiate.
Right. And okay, so this is a crazy thing that happened. So when we decided to jump into this whole thing, I was talking with somebody to get advice about business, and they were already running a business, and they were like, you know, it's really great that you want to do this and have fun doing it, but at the end of the day, you have to make money, or you're not going to have fun.
Or
It's
you
like,
don't have a business, right? It's a
Yeah.
hobby then.
Right. And I was like, you know what? That's actually really good advice and something I need to hear, because going into it, it was just fun, you know?
Yeah.
And so the very next day, a friend of mine who didn't even know that like we were going down this path of opening the store, she texted me and said, "Hey, have you read this book?" And it was You're a Badass at Making Money.
Oh, really? I haven't heard of this.
Oh, honey, you need to read this book.
Okay.
So I just thought it was really amazing timing that she thought of me and wanted to share this book. And she was like, you know, I just thought about you and what you're doing with Wyckwood House. And so, of course, right away, I was like, no, I haven't read it, but absolutely I'm going to, because someone just told me I need to make money. So
Yes, that's
and I need to be a
amazing.
badass doing it.
Was it worth the read?
Incredible. I've been recommending it to everybody.
So I will buy this as soon as I get in the car.
Yes. Like at our artisan social, I was like, you guys, you all need to read this book.
Right.
Because, and that's, I think, the big thing with, like you said, you know, creatives, we don't want to promote ourselves. We don't think we're worth what maybe the market is even.
Right.
And so a lot of it is mental. It's what we believe about ourselves, what we believe about what our worth is. And then we put that on our product, right?
Yes, and it's the story we tell ourselves. I've been thinking a lot about that in a lot of ways, but like our minds are constantly filling in the gaps. And you have to be so careful with what that story is, because most of the
Yeah.
time, I think it's bullshit.
It's garbage.
It is.
Yeah.
And when you step back and start pulling out the facts of the situation, whatever it is, if it's your pricing, the pricing, I've never had a client who was like, no, this is too expensive.
Right.
Every single time, like when the issue of price comes up, they're telling me like, you should charge more,
Wow.
because they're concerned about my business, but like
Yeah.
want to make sure that I know the value of the service.
So amazing.
Right. And that can be hard if you're creating something, but you have to think about the time you're putting into it. So if I show up to a meeting, like I'm not providing anybody anything physical. And so sometimes it's hard to quantify like my time and my words or ideas or whatever.
Yeah.
And I would imagine with art, then you think, well, like if you enjoyed making it,
Right.
you know, that's what you do
Yeah.
for fun. Or some people, I'm sure there are things in here that they do because it's relaxing, or maybe it started out that way. It's hard
It is.
to put a price tag on that. And what are people, but what's the worst that's going to happen? It's going to sit here and then you guys can have a conversation.
Right. Yeah. And there's somebody for everything.
Right.
That's the thing too. You have to remember that and realize who your target audience is, you know?
And I think it's important too then on the consumer side of things to provide feedback. Like I so appreciate the people who have told me
Yeah.
that I need to raise my prices. And I'm sure the artists that have heeded your advice. And once they sell something, we'll appreciate that too. And it's just that the first time is always so scary.
It is scary. Absolutely. It's scary to put yourself out there.
Right. But
It's worth it.
It is worth it. It's a hard conversation to have with yourself. And it's continual.
It is. And I'm really thankful. Like, I was able to do this 3-phase like workshop thing that was all about uncovering the lies that you believe about yourself. And then
Where did you do that?
through my church, and it was amazing. And I'm so thankful that I was able to do that before tackling this.
Yes.
And I think it was just, honestly, I probably wouldn't be doing this if I hadn't gone through that process of uncovering that stuff and realizing that there is always a conversation in our head.
Yes.
And being able to know our worth and give affirmations to yourself and others, and
Right.
see the beauty in people. And yeah, I don't know, I think that was a life-changing thing for me.
It sounds like it, because there's a lot to unpack in that little story you're telling yourself in your head about whatever situation is happening at that time.
And honestly, like, I didn't even know that I had stuff going through my head.
Right.
As crazy as that
Until you become
sounds,
aware of it.
Yes. Like, I went to therapy years ago, and one of the questions that the therapist asked me was, "What is your self-talk like?" I was like, I looked at her like she was crazy. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean self-talk? Like, I talk to people. I don't know who you talk to, but like, what? I'm like, I didn't even know what she meant.
Right.
And then that, like you said, it made me aware that, like, there is a conversation in my head, and I am saying things to myself, and most of the time it's not good.
It's not nice.
Right.
Like, it could be, I always think, if my friend was telling me this, like, how would I react in that situation? Or what would I say to my friend in that situation? I'd probably say something similar, but nicer.
Right. Totally.
I wouldn't be so mean.
I know.
I did it's called self-authoring. So Jordan Peterson is this Canadian, like, social psychologist, I think, psychiatrist. And he does it in a semester, I think.
Okay.
And he is a professor too. So he does it with his students in a semester. But he has a program where you can do it yourself. And so he gives you prompts, and you start with, there's past, present, and future. And you're supposed to start with present. And then you can do your virtues or your faults, and it takes you through this little, like, almost like a quiz, and it'll give you all these scenarios, and you pick, like, what you would do or what feelings you'd have about that situation. And then it ranks your top 10 in each category, virtues and faults, and then you have to write about them
Interesting.
in depth. And so it takes you through the present, and then it takes you through the past, which I'm almost done with, and then through the future. And so my brother said the future, of course, was the hardest one, because now you've like really worked through your shit in depth, because it asks you to give examples of a time when you behaved this way.
Yeah.
And then, so once you really have to write about that and analyze it, and then it will say, you know, how would you have done that situation differently? Like, wow, it makes you think, and they're intense. So, like, answering one question, like one scenario will take you like an hour, because you have to give the whole scenario, and then what you would have done differently, and then what you will do differently next time. And so working through all of that, and then going back and reading what it brought up, it's really interesting.
It is interesting, and it's so good. It's powerful
Yeah.
work, isn't it?
It is.
Because, I mean, the people we were growing up and the experiences we had make us who we are today, right?
Right.
We all know that. Like,
Yeah.
that's a common thing. But until you're willing and able to, like, dig into that and really uncover those things,
Yes.
like, wow.
And so for some people, like, if you choose to do it on your own, like go through the workshop or the self-authoring program, that's good. And then for some people, like having kids will trigger that too.
Yeah.
I don't have kids, so I don't know. But did that happen? for you? At all?
So
I think for some it does.
It totally does. It makes you look at your own childhood very differently, you know, because now you're on the other side.
Yeah.
You're the parent. And so it was an interesting process, and still is today, you know, because my son is 10. So
Right.
I'm in the nitty gritty of it, you know, and but we struggled with infertility.
Okay.
And so that definitely, and so I already shared that I went to therapy, but that was a big part of that.
Yeah.
That was hard. That was really hard. And so I'm thankful that we're down the road and where we are today. But yeah, it does bring up a lot of stuff.
So did you have to use in vitro, or did you? Okay.
We did, yeah. We went through a lot of testing and came to the point where that was our only option, honestly, was to do the in vitro. And so we went for it. Thankfully, my husband was totally on board as well, and we had a lot of praying people in our life. And so that first round, we were able to conceive.
Oh my gosh,
and
that's amazing.
It was really incredible. But of course, I mean, most people that have been through infertility know that that's a really hard journey. And so, you know, even though we were celebrating that, it was still really stressful and hard because you're so nervous the entire time. Because, you know, it's not like a natural pregnancy where it's like, oh, you got the pregnancy test and woohoo. It's like you're at the doctor all the time.
Checking the eggs, did they take, all of that.
Yeah, really, really hard. But that was definitely an awesome time as well, because we were super excited and thankful, and just had a great community with us. So,
and that's hard on your relationship too, because I think, well, hopefully women are starting to talk more about these things. I have friends who have struggled with that too, and for one, they were together they started dating in high school, so they've been together, I think, over half as long as Susan has been alive.
Oh my gosh.
And then, like, they wanted to get pregnant. It seemed they've been together for so long and married for so long that it was like the natural next step. And then it took them 10 years to finally, they adopted little baby Alexa. But since, I mean, I've lived in Virginia, so we were together when they were going through all that, and they went through 5 rounds of in vitro.
Oh my gosh.
And so I just remember her, like, one day being so frustrated, she, like, dumped all of her needles from the in vitro, the hormone injections. It's crazy.
It is. It's absolutely insane.
And then you're injecting those hormones, so that's a whole other, that doesn't help. I mean,
right, because you still have to function and do life, but
right.
You're totally jacked up emotionally and physically and all that. It's
well,
tough.
and then people are probably asking you too, which is like, are you guys gonna have a baby? When are you gonna have a baby? Like, how's it going? And a lot of people, I don't think, want to actually hear the honest response to that.
Right. Oh, no, they don't. Especially, I think it was even harder when we did have Mateo. And then as he got older and we weren't having another, that was hard. Because people were like, oh, don't you think he needs a sister? Don't you think he needs a brother? Well, what are you thinking? When's the number 2 coming? I was like,
So what do you say? What's your response?
Today, my response is, it just didn't happen for us.
Oh,
and
that's good.
It,
Yeah.
But there were times where it was really, really hard.
Like Susan would. I know she would be upset at work. Like, she didn't, if they went out for drinks after work and it came up in conversation, didn't want to tell the entire table, like, oh yeah, we're struggling to get pregnant right now. We're trying to do in vitro. We're on round 2. Round 1 didn't work. So, like.
Right. He just gave me a giant shot before we came in here tonight. Like, come on.
And I have to, like, stab myself again in the morning. What is your response in that situation? Right. And I think on the one hand, if people would be more honest about it, like, had she said, well, we're struggling to get pregnant, you don't have to go through the whole thing, then more people, it's like creating awareness. Yeah. But then on the other hand, I really don't think people want to hear it.
No, they don't.
Like,
most people don't.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable, you know,
It is
and I think
uncomfortable.
people don't know what to say, and I think that's another thing that we should talk about is it's okay to not know what to say.
Right.
And it's okay to say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And what people want to hear when they're struggling with anything, not just infertility, but like sickness or any hard thing in life, is just, I'm sorry. Like, that really sucks.
Exactly.
And that's it. They don't want to know a Bible verse.
Or
they
the doctors you went to, what
like,
to eat.
Don't tell them about your sister's experience. Like, no. Like, just, I'm sorry. You know? And that's it.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're going through that. Yeah. And that would be, like, Susan and I would just, like, go out for drinks. That would be how we... How I could have helped her in that situation. That was the only thing I could do, was like get her out of her house.
Right, because you can't fix it.
Yeah, go to the beach, grab drinks.
Yes.
And just hang out.
Be there.
It's so important to have that conversation because I do think, like, you're right. It's okay to not know what to say.
Right.
And I tend to be like a gap filler, so I always want to say something.
Right.
Okay, what do we? And the podcast helps me with that. Mm-hmm. Like giving people time to talk or to think.
Right.
Because I probably should think more before I speak, but
yeah,
I don't
we can all do that.
Right. I think we're at a really good spot now.
Cool.
Do you have anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. It's been fantastic.
This has been fun, isn't it?
It's super fun just chatting with you. And yeah, I appreciate you asking me to do it.
Thank you for being on. And these couches are amazing.
Aren't they?
Comfortable.
You can find me napping here every now and then. Just not gonna lie, even though people can see me. And it's so funny. There was a guy that came into the shop the other day, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I think I saw like a blonde chick laying on that couch the other day." I was like, "Yep, that's probably me."
That's me. Hello.
We're not open quite yet, so we're working hard, and it's comfy.
It is comfy. You can sleep on the couch downstairs too. So your grand opening is
July 13th, so 6 to 10. We're going to have live music. We'll have tacos. Flo's Famous Tacos will be here.
He's going to make them?
Yes. And we will have cocktails, 11th hour bartender.
Oh, nice.
Yes, it's going to be good.
That's going to be fun. And then outside from this space, where can people find out about you?
On Facebook and Instagram, just Wyckwood House. And then we're there.
Nice. Great. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Miranda.
Yay.